Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Interesting show for you tonight, folks. On the line, martial artist and kung fu stylist himself, Mr. Paul Grabber, joins me on the line. We're going to spend some time talking about his journey in martial arts, what turns him on, things like that. How you doing today, Paul?
Hey, Matt. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your show. Minor correction, my last name is pronounced Graber.
Oh, good call. That's let's make sure we get that one right.
Well, I would love to say that you're the first person to mispronounce my name, but that would not be the case. I always get asked, "Are you the baby food people?" No, that's Gerber.
That's Gerber. Yeah, it's a little different. I had this with Sherfu too, believe it or not. I mispronounced his name I don't know how many times on the show, and he finally corrected me. It's Kariaga, not Koriaga.
Do not feel bad. I had to be corrected as well. You know, yay for interesting last names. Well, I look at that one.
I was going down the line of with the last name mispronounced, of course, like Grabber. He's got to be into the grappling arts someplace. That has to be in there, right?
Actually, it's interesting that you say that because having been studying Shaolin Do Chinese martial arts for 25 years, had to do some adaptation because I have cerebral palsy. I was born with that. I'm 49, getting ready to be 50 this year. But in talking with my instructor, Master John Price, he took note that balance was an issue. So we decided that I would grab hold of my opponent and kind of hang on to him while I'm knocking the tar out of him.
Right.
And kind of played to my strengths and compensated for my weaknesses. And actually, that's precisely what I do is I get you to the ground, and then you're in my world, and then my balance is no longer an issue. So you've taken we talked a little bit before we jumped on the air that obviously kung fu is a part of the style that you sort of pursue as well, but so you've actually adapted this for yourself and made it your own now. So is it? I mean, can we technically still call that traditional kung fu, or is it now your version of it, kind of thing? Well, I always like because kung fu is really an American term, for Chinese martial arts. The Chinese term kung fu actually means accomplished person. So, you have kung fu in podcasting. A person who is a painter has kung fu in painting. Kung fu is accomplished skill. So the fact that I was fortunate enough to have an instructor that not only was able to find a way to work around my disadvantages as far as my physical disability, because I can't kick. So in addition to grabbing hold of my opponent, he turned any of our material, the different forms that we learn, anywhere there would be a kick, for my purposes, it would be either a knee or an elbow.
Okay.
And these adaptations worked incredibly well. I mean, I was really amazed because there would be some nights I would come to class and my classmates who, are non-disabled, they'd be learning a new form, and it would be, I'd be right there learning with them, and he'd say, okay, and for this move, instead of kicking, I want you to grab and do an elbow here, or I want you to grab and do a knee here. And sometimes that would be as soon as we learned the form, and then there would be other times when he'd say, I'll get back to you on that. And he would really go and think about it. And what was great about that is he didn't just randomly throw in a knee or an elbow just for the sake of having me do a move. It was always very true to the spirit of the form that we were learning, whether it was a tiger form, a crane form, any of the animal styles, what have you. It was as true to the original move that my non-disabled fellow students were learning as possible. And it was also functional as far as an applicable martial art, because that was the other thing I told him when I started training, is that I had no desire to be the school mascot. I was there to train in a martial art that, if need be, I could use to defend myself. And he took that to heart. So I was very fortunate to meet him.
Was it difficult when you decided to start practicing martial arts to find a school that was, willing and able to kind of, participate with you in that way? Did you have to go through multiple schools or multiple instructors?
Actually, yes, I did. what got it all started, I've been a martial arts enthusiast pretty much all my life. My first exposure to anything martial arts related was the old television show Kung Fu with David Carradine.
Great show,
You know,
yep.
when I was a kid, and my mom had the presence to tell me, that even though these were actors and the fighting was fake, there really was a Shaolin temple. This martial art was real, and the philosophy, the Taoism that was part of the philosophy on the show, she let me know that that was real as well. So, the fact that, yeah, this was a TV show and I knew it was TV, but there was this stuff was in some way real that really intrigued me and kind of lit the fire all my life. But when it never really occurred to me to train, I don't know why, through my teenage years. I was your typical teenager, fat, lazy, out of shape. Doritos, Mountain Dew, and Dungeons and Dragons were a way of life. But
it's a rite of passage for a lot of us now. Come on.
got to be about 23, 24, and was a pack-a-day smoker, and was a little on the rotund side. And me and my best bud, who had taken Shaolin Do before when he was a teenager, we decided that we were going to take up martial arts. Well, we had been sitting around watching a lot of Steven Seagal movies, and he was big at the time. This was back in the '90s, kind of early to mid '90s. And what intrigued us about Aikido for me was we noticed there was not a lot of kicking. There's not a lot of kicking involved. So we thought, well, that's right up your alley, man. You can't kick. So we thought, great, we'll go do Aikido, right? And so we go to Louisville Aikido here in Louisville, and much respect to the teacher at Louisville Aikido, because I approached him and told him that I wanted to learn and all that, and rather than take my money and let me come to class and wave my hands in the air like a lot of like I have seen instructors do that with people who have disabilities. Oh, sure, I'll teach you, and they'll let them come in and put on the outfit, and they wave their hands in the air and they stumble around, and oh, isn't that great? Well, this guy, he did not do that, and I respect him very much. He said, man, I admire your enthusiasm, and I really appreciate your desire to learn. He said, but honestly, everything about Aikido, all your power is generated from your hips. And he said, man, yours don't work, which they don't. I have very little flexibility in my hips. And he said, I would not have the faintest idea how to adapt what I do
right
to help you. I can't do it. And he said, I know that. And rather than bullshit you and take your money,
right,
I would rather just tell you that I can't teach you. And I was like, no, man, actually, I appreciate you showing me the respect, man to man, to say, hey, brother, I'd love to help you, but I can't, And once Damon, that was my friend that was with me, he heard the guy say that, and he said, I guarantee you, he said, I bet Master John could help you. And funny story, to back up, talk about weird coincidences. I don't think there are anything such thing as coincidences, but when I was in high school, this was back before the days of cable, back when you had a few channels. You had your UHF and VHF, and that was it. And used to come on the public access channel. There was a local. It was a kung fu show, and the teacher would show different techniques and forms and things like that. And it always came on after the show that my grandmother watched in the afternoon when I got in from school, because I would come in and help take care of her because she stayed with us before she passed. And then the show would come on and I would watch it. Well, also, my mother decorated cakes as a hobby and kind of as a side job. She got paid to do something because she was good at it. Well, the supply store that she would go to get all of her cake decorating supplies, there was a kung fu school right next to it. To connect all the dots, the kung fu school next to Mom's cake decorating class or store is the same place where my friend Damon originally studied Shaolin Do when he was a kid. It's the place that anytime Mom wanted to go get new cake stuff, I would go just so I could watch the door. And this was the same school and the same head instructor that put on the television show that I was watching when I got in from school.
Small world,
huh? Yeah. So Shaolin Do Kung Fu, that was pretty much a meant to be for me. And when I told Master Price, that I wanted to learn something real, that I wanted to be able to do something real, I didn't want to be the school mascot. I didn't want to be a feel-good story. His first words were, "You are familiar with the phrase, be careful what you ask for."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I am. I am very aware of it. Be careful what you ask for."
Yeah.
And
Most martial arts instructors in an alternate universe could easily be people that tortured people for I mean, they really know what they're doing when it comes to pain.
oh, very much so. And he even told me, he said, I'm sure over the years you've done some physical therapy in your time, right? I said, "Oh yeah, I've done a few, done a little bit." He said, "Well, they care
Right.
if they hurt you. They care if you go home sore. I don't."
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's built in, right?
Yeah, this is pretty much I say you do. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. And the journey went from there, and he's been putting up with me for 25 years. So
that's awesome.
I feel very blessed to have met him.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You cut out a little bit. You were about to ask me something. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but now at some level though, this is sort of something that's become your name. This is your version of this, right? I mean, it's one of them kind of things. I'm sure people have reached out to you over 20 plus years and said, "Hey, how do I pursue this the same way?" I mean, so I guess what I'm getting at is it feels like you've sort of almost developed your own style now. In a manner of speaking.
I don't want to say that it's my style, because I kind of shy away from that. I don't like saying, that I've reinvented the wheel. Like one of my good friends, Hank Knight, is a fellow student in Shaolin Do. He likes to say that I'm the 37th chamber.
Okay.
If you've seen the movie, the 36th Chamber, the Shaolin Kung Fu movie.
Okay, yeah, with the picking up the pot with his arms and all. Is that the one?
That's off the TV show Kung Fu. But
okay.
The 36th Chamber, the guy basically he takes Kung Fu to another level. That's the whole concept of the 36th Chamber. And Hank said that's kind of what he thinks I did with what I learned by helping other people that have physical and developmental disabilities, because I do have my own program. It's called Shaolin A.R.Ts, and A.R.Ts is an acronym. It stands for Adapted Realistic Techniques.
Okay.
And I do a lot of work with people in the disabled community, but I also train and teach people who are non-disabled as well. Because I'm a certified kettlebell trainer also.
Okay. Oh, neat.
And
I haven't tried that yet. I've seen a lot about kettlebell training and stuff. Obviously, if I'm a podcaster, I'm a huge Rogan fan, and he's, with On It and all that's always talking about him. But I've yet to incorporate that into any kind of level of training.
Kettlebells are really good, especially for martial artists, because we use so much of our whole body to generate power.
Right.
And 90% of all kettlebell exercises are a total body exercise. There's one exercise in particular called the swing. It's one of the best exercises you will ever do. All you got to do to increase the difficulty is do it with a heavier bell for a longer time.
Okay.
And it is one of the best total body exercises. I could give you a 2-minute drill with a 12K kettlebell that would kick your tail.
I don't think that'd be hard anyway.
But I was when I hit about green belt level, which kind of intermediate student level in Shaolin Do, I started noticing, that I was a lot stronger. My legs were working a little better. The balance sucked a little less. Was starting to really get in shape, kind of a thing. Because we're a very physically demanding style. I mean, to do kung fu, you gotta do some stuff,
right?
And to say we do a lot of calisthenics would be an understatement. And I just noticed, all these benefits, and I'm thinking, I bet that I could take these benefits to other people. And I started out at the Metro Parks here in Louisville. They have an adapted recreation department, and I went and met with them. This is back in '98 after I got my black belt. And just kind of started from there, and that led me to start actually working in the disabled community. Worked at a state-run facility called Hazelwood here in Louisville in the recreation department.
Okay.
And that led to me, I've worked for Rest Care. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're one of the biggest providers of care for folks with special needs in the country. I've actually worked in the special needs field for about 20 years, and
well, you've definitely seen a quantifiable then benefits from this specific to the disability too, right? You were saying that your balance is better.
Yes, indeed. I've been able to share the physical and mental benefits that I've achieved through martial arts practice with people who have what most folks would consider pretty profound intellectual and developmental and physical disabilities, and the transformative effects are amazing. Well, amazing.
They are for anybody that isn't rowing up that stream to begin with. I mean, personally, I can attest to that. My professional life has gotten much better, and my physical well-being is better. My confidence level's better. And I'm not fighting any kind of disability to begin with, and my mental state is much better, much better.
The thing that I tell everyone, if there's one aspect of martial arts, or whether it's yoga or whatever, that I would tell everybody to do every day, regardless of anything else that you do or don't do, would be to meditate. Meditation is where it's at.
Yeah, definitely.
Meditation is where it's at. Don't just do an app on your phone. Don't, just do something on YouTube. Even if it's only for a couple classes for a month or two, go to a qualified teacher and learn how to meditate.
For crying out loud,
it will change your life.
Mean it. If you're going to do it, mean it. That's kind of, I agree with you 100%. There's so much of this that's sort of half-assed. I showed up, got my selfie, and now I'm, now I are a martial artist, or now I do hot yoga, or I do whatever. It's like, no,
exactly.
you're missing the point of all of this.
Commit.
Commit. Dive in, because it's so worth it. I find that, I tell people this all the time because I'm kind of an A personality. I'm working on it. Nobody's perfect, I get
likewise, my friend. I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
But anytime I go to the gym, my particular discipline of self-torture is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But after
good stuff.
But man, I walk out of a class, and I don't know that you could make me mad. I don't know that it would be possible. I just don't have that desire, energy, whatever you want to call it about me left. It's gone, and it stays gone for days and days. It really and I know it's not meditation per se, and I've felt the similar effects though from meditating, and I've done things like float tanks and shit like that. That's been really productive.
I've always wanted to do the float tank. I haven't done that yet.
It's a trip. It's a trip.
That's on my list.
I'm trying to think, because I've had several people ask me about it, but the best explanation I can be is that it was the deepest nap I ever took in my life, and I don't, and dreaming and the whole 9 yards. But at first I was like, okay, what is this? I'm just sort of floating in some warm bath water here, and then I started thinking.
We'll see. I'm having visions of altered states with William Hurt back in the day. So.
Oh, sure. Now I'm sure if one had taken LSD or something like that prior to, but that wasn't me in this case. So I was expecting sort of the same thing. All right, when do I start talking to the aliens? When's this happen here? And I'll tell you, the trick to it was simply, because I did 45 minutes for my first session, and the trick to it that I found out was to just get as comfortable as you can to the point, where that point when you're sitting maybe watching an old kung fu movie and you start to nod off on a Sunday or whatever.
You just kind of zone. You drift into the zone.
Get to that place. That's where you're really trying to get to. Man, when I got there, it's like the rocket ship took off. It was amazing. And I lost sort of all rationale for time. Like when I got out of there, I thought I'd been in there for like 6 hours. And it was
that's really good. That's really good meditation. And I'm still working to where I want to be with meditation, because it's been proven physically that meditation done correctly, 1 hour of really good meditation is equal to 2 hours of the most restful sleep you've ever had.
I can believe it. Because it's done with intent. Anything that's done with intent generally works better anyway, right? So I totally agree with that. My wife is very big into it too, and she's used it to great effect for herself. And
that's one of the things that intrigued me as a kid. A I don't know if you remember the old TV show That's Incredible back in the day.
Oh yeah, I'm that old.
Okay, I thought you might be. But you remember, they showed the guys, the yogis, that could slow their heart rate down so low that all the machines thought they were dead.
Yep, they get in that glass box and they'd stick it in a swimming pool and then pull it up an hour later. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, that's real. You can really do that, and that's meditation. And having studied kung fu for as long as I have been present and seen with my own eyes and felt with my own senses some pretty nifty stuff with the chi and
energies,
and things like that. That stuff is the real deal, and I'm very fortunate to train with some people who are the real deal. So I feel very, very lucky in that regard.
I have a lot of people on the show. Sherfu, which is on quite a bit, and yourself now, my buddy, the Occidental Taoist, Jeff Cody. Many people that come on and talk about this concept that there are energies at play that they swear to, that this exists, this works, they've participated in it, they've witnessed it, and all these that are here to sort of unmeasured types of influences or energies. And it's in the same, and what's funny is it keeps coming back up, and it keeps coming back in the same kind of format too, with the way that it's explained, felt. So I find this all to be really beyond coincidental. I think there's a lot more to this than most people give credit to, and I was just wondering, kind of what is your take on these kind of things, especially in martial arts with chi and chi and all this kind of stuff.
It's chi, Ka, it's all energy. It's all energy. When you hear people talk about qigong, it's all energy training. But it's the genuine article. I've done a lot of reading and a lot of research on this myself, and they've been able to measure that our hearts actually put off an electromagnetic field, and our fields connect, and we ourselves put off unique frequencies. We vibrate at different frequencies.
Right.
Human beings generate their own electric fields. They've done studies with live yoga cultures where one culture was told over and over again, "I hate you." The other was told over and over again, "I love you." The one that was given love grew and thrived, and the one that was given negativity died almost immediately. So they're starting to get around to being able to measure what folks in all types of different martial art practices have known for a long time, and that is that there really is an energy field that connects us all. And if you know how to focus and know how to control your breathing and things like that, you're not just controlling your own focus and controlling breathing. If there's energy in the breath as well, you're controlling that energy as well. And that's where I get some of the most profound reaction and change from some of my most disabled students, is when I present them with that concept of not just sitting there thinking about breathing when they're meditating, but to actually realize that they're controlling energy. And when that big door is kind of opened up for them, it shows them so much more is possible. And that's why I believe in it wholeheartedly, not just, because I've seen people ping pong balls of lint back across a piece of carpet using their chi. I've seen a guy barely touch a stack of 7 bricks and break them all, just like he hit them with a sledgehammer. I've seen stuff like that would make you realize that, yeah, chi is real. But when I see things like that transform people that you would think, to the average person, you would think they don't understand, that's when I know that it's real.
Well, there's definitely something to, like I said, to me, it all seems to focus around the idea of intention. In that, energy directed is intended energy, right? I mean, when you decide to put in any kind of energy, or however it is that you approach it, or I shouldn't say approach it, however it is that you make it make sense to you.
Yes. Well, and however you get to the point of where it's belief, where your belief is so strong that it's there, because that belief and intention, that's where it's at. And when people say, well, prayer, people get mad when you say thoughts and prayers because they're like, well, prayer works. Yes, but prayer only works if it's focused with intent. That's why prayer works, because you've got X amount of people all focusing positive energy or love or whatever you want to call it on a particular individual. Is, in my opinion, why prayer works, is because you have so many people that are focusing positive energy, positive thought, love or whatever. And, love is a measurable force. You can actually measure it, and it has been determined by science, since everybody loves that term. It has been determined by science to be the strongest force in existence. So
it certainly makes the biggest changes. There's
yes.
no doubt about that. I mean, it's our base nature is to be I think to be barbaric and sort of ugh smash kind of. And
Hulk smash.
Yeah, the real change in the world always seems to come from that kind of direction of love, and what I mean by real change is the constructive, positive stuff. We know how to blow shit up. We know how to tear stuff apart. I mean, that is fundamental to the human condition. But
that's the easy part.
Yeah, that's actually really simple, and we default back to that. And I was just talking to a family member the other day about some struggles they were going through, and I said, look, the answer is almost always find the love in the situation. Like I don't know any other way to say it, but that's the wisdom of it is finding that when you find the love of any situation, then you start to find the wisdom and the answers and things like that. Otherwise,
exactly,
you're
and
fighting.
That's what drew me to Chinese martial arts in particular. Was the chi and the meditation and the healing aspects of it, and the fact that the beating people up was an afterthought. That wasn't even the point. You didn't even do this to beat people up. That was not. And in fact, as cheesy as it sounds, my students, one of the things that I made them learn is actually from the TV series Kung Fu, and it's the little creed, I guess you could say, that he teaches him. And he says, avoid rather than check rather than hurt rather than maim rather than kill, for all life is precious,
right,
and none can be replaced.
Yeah, this
and go ahead.
What's interesting about that is the martial arts that really hold up out there all have those core sort of tenets to them, where it's sort of like, look, yes, you know how to be unbelievably destructive, but now you're almost required to not be whenever possible. And
exactly.
There's an ethos that kind of goes with that, and the ones that sort of hang on, the martial arts that have sort of held on and been around for a long time, all have that sort of Tao to them, or that ethos to them that back them up.
Yeah, and I always remind my guys, the thorns on the rose are only there to protect it from people that are trying to hurt the rose.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, there it is in nature, right?
Yeah,
kind of the same thing.
And I also remind them too, that it's a very serious thing. Even when we're learning some of the things that we learn, it's as serious as carrying a firearm. And right. You need to have that same kind of responsibility and that same kind of restraint. It's not something that you play with and just pull out at a anytime you're wanting to look tough.
Yep, definitely. Now, how do you feel? Now, lately, obviously, in our lifetime, you and me, we've sort of watched martial arts ebb and flow in and out of popularity and kind of mainstream acceptance, right? There was when we were both younger, it was kung fu movies and stuff on Saturday cinema and things like that. And then it sort of,
you ain't lying, kung fu theater, buddy. Yep,
that was the best stuff, right? So
yes, sir.
And then it, obviously you mentioned the Steven Seagal films, and then really back in the '90s when the Ultimate Fighting Championships and things like that sort of started coming into prominence. You really started to watch mainstream martial arts sort of morph yet again and change into this thing that sort of more looks like what it is today, But one of the really cool things that's happened during all of this is I love how that the traditional martial arts have found a home in all of this, in the sense that there's still a lot of respect, even though there's these, combat functional martial arts that have really taken off, like mixed martial arts and Krav Maga and things like that. I've really seen that there's a homage paid towards the tradition of these older traditional martial arts. It's sort of held its place in all of this, and hasn't sort of lost its desirability, because a lot of people that participate in the mixed martial arts go back to things like, for instance, like judo. Okay, even though functional Brazilian jiu-jitsu and judo and stuff like that's kind of turned into MMA, you still see a lot of people going back and going, yes, but I'm still going to pursue that black belt in judo, or I'm still going to pursue aikido or karate or whatever it is. I mean, have you felt that? I feel that's sort of expanded the footprint now for the kung fu's and the older, more traditional martial arts, and giving them more prominence even yet in society.
Oh, for sure, because it's martial art, and with the UFC and so much with the mixed martial art world, you got all the martial you could ever need.
Yeah, it's all there. But, yeah, they can teach you that all day. Yep.
to go back to get the art part, that's when you pick a particular focal point, like say judo or kung fu or traditional taekwondo or something like that, where you put a little more art with your martial.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes back to the saying in Bushido that the samurai says, the warrior who knows only one part of himself leaves himself vulnerable to attack. That's why they used to write poetry and do the tea ceremony and do calligraphy and flower arranging and things.
That's right. That's right.
In other cultures would be considered feminine pursuits or womanly pursuits, or not very manly. Whereas they're seeing it as no, I'm actually knowing all there is to know about me, so that I know everything about me mentally, physically, and spiritually, so that
it's not only okay, it's sort of expected now. You see these bruisers, man, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I do yoga 5 days a week and meditate." Really? You kill people for a living, kind of thing. But that's right. That's what I'm saying. You nailed that. It's that other piece of it, and I think the word you used was more the feminine side of it. Okay. Is okay now. It's not like even it is. Oh, bro, I can't believe you do that crap. It's really sort of expected that's part of your regimen. That's right. In there.
Well, and I point out to people as well, because we teach Tai Chi at Louisville Shaolin Do as well, and we not only do the Tai Chi like you see in the park, with all the old people, but we teach the martial application of Tai Chi as well. And some of the coolest martial techniques that I know came from Tai Chi.
Yeah, it's all in there, huh?
Well, actually, I went to, how Arnold Schwarzenegger does his big thing in Columbus, Ohio every year, his big fitness martial arts symposium.
Arnold. Yeah.
That thing. Well, in 2005 or 2006, Rescare paid my way to go.
Oh, very cool.
Because there was a disabled special needs, whatever PC term you want to throw on it, division up there, and Rescare was like, well, aren't you all into that kind of stuff? And aren't you doing that with some of our guys at the day program and all that? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, well, we'll pay your way, and we know you don't drive, so get you an assistant or whatever, and we'll get you guys a hotel room and all that. So I got to go up there.
Very cool.
And got to meet Arnold and shake his hand and all that kind of stuff. Well, this was my first exposure to, that's what you think doing martial arts with people that have disabilities looks like, right? Because, they had the guy up there, and he had at least 10 to 12 students. And they were all out there in their gis and all that, and they were getting the golf clap and the awes and all that. But, Matt, if you would have told me that any of these people could actually defend themselves, I would have called you a liar.
Okay.
And what makes me mad about that, Matt, is people think, okay, well, why would disabled people need to fight? Neat statistic for you. As a trainer, I train people to work with special needs in the disabled community. Interesting statistic for you. 85% of people with disabilities, that means everybody with disabilities, 85% of them at some point in their life will be the victim of some type of crime or assault.
Yeah, it's not the candy canes and beautiful world out there that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's kind of scary.
So if there were a group of people, Matt, that might need a little something extra, it's somebody that has a disability, right?
Right.
Well, when I saw this, I was disgusted. I was disgusted because, yeah, okay, these folks, they had plenty of art. They had art for days, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But there was nary a bit of martial to be seen anywhere, and that's a problem for me.
No balance.
Well, come to find out, it was also a problem for another fellow that was there, courtesy of the folks he worked for, as a prosthetics company, because he lost his leg from the knee down on the left side. And he, too, was a little bit on the not-so-impressed side with their disabled division. So he and I got together, and we decided, you know what? Forget this noise. And he and I, with help of some referees at the Arnold, put on a full contact martial arts exhibition. And he and I went at it.
And kinetic, huh?
we threw down, went at it, and showed these people what was up.
Yeah, it's. I got a buddy. I got a good friend of mine. A shout out to Mike Barnett. He listens to the show. He's been on the show. A Navy buddy that's working his way through age-related macular degeneration.
Oh wow.
Okay, and has taken to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu model of grappling. You know, learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Hoorah.
Specifically because. He's going, okay, I'm losing my eyesight, but he doesn't want to be a victim. He doesn't want to be, it gives him, that self-assurance that, hey, even though I may not be able to see very well and will eventually possibly even lose his entire eyesight, that he's already preparing for that. Like
yes, sir.
He's already used to, fighting with people, grabbing clothing, using, the advantages he can get. In that situation versus being able to sort of stand and bang, and strike and things. So,
yes, indeed.
So I love this because a lot of people I don't think understand that. Look, this is self-defense isn't just for people that are quote unquote able-bodied. That's not what it's about.
I won the fight.
Okay.
our full contact exhibition fight.
Yeah.
I won.
Very cool. Very cool.
And that's what I wanted, and there was a lot, I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of pride coming back to my instructor, Master Price, with my gold medal from the Arnold going, look what I did.
Yeah. And in a for-real kind of, as for-real as you can get in a tournament, but as in a for-real type situation, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and that's what was, that was what was so great about it, but to get back to when we were talking about using Tai Chi to fight, Ron, the guy that I fought, he was a Muay Thai guy. He was really in, that was his whole stance. That was his whole thing. Well, I knew, by looking at the way he was standing, what was coming. Well, as soon as he went to do that crash over top and come across with that cutting elbow across my, the horizon there, I just let my arm drop straight out of Tai Chi. I just let it flow and let his hand come on through. And next thing he knew, he was getting a right cross right across his jaw.
Yep.
And he asked me later at lunch, he's like, what was that? He said, I was expecting to, if you blocked me, I was expecting you to block me.
Right.
He said, but you just let me push your arm out of the way. And I'm thinking, okay, this is easy. And then bam. And I'm like, that's Tai Chi, dude.
That's like the flowing is
go with the flow.
Yeah.
Exactly. I said, I just went with the flow. I said, I knew by the way you were standing, you were going to try and come across with that, knocking my hand down and coming across with the elbow. I said, so as soon as you did that, I just dropped my hand, and you had, by the time you realized what I was doing, it was too late, and you were getting hit.
So this is, this is functional martial arts. This isn't, is what you're getting at here. This is, look, we're not here. You've used the term multiple times. I don't want to be a mascot.
Exactly right.
So this isn't obligatory. You know, you're not looking for anybody to go light. It's not that kind of thing. This is for real
No, sir.
shit, and you're here to do business, man. I mean, that's what it's about.
I still, as often as I can, I've had a shoulder injury due to a car accident I was in a few weeks ago. I've been down for a few weeks, but typically every Saturday, me and my buddy Hank, we throw on the gloves, and for at least 1 5 minute round, we go at it. And if you don't block, you're hit.
Well, boy, you know, it's funny. And there's no truer test of honesty than the mat.
Yep.
You know, that's one of the things I'm so addicted to, especially about BJJ, is that you can't make it up, because sooner or later
The mat don't lie,
the
brother.
mat don't ever lie. You either got it
Nope.
or you don't, and it's humbling, and I think necessary. It's really good
Very.
for your ego to go get the shit slapped out of you, or go get beat up really good, and realize kind of how I don't how do I want to say this. You got to understand how vulnerable you really are to stop being vulnerable. Does that make sense?
It keeps you from believing your own bullshit.
Boy, how? Isn't that the truth?
And that's a trap that any of us that study martial arts for any length of time, you got to test yourself, and I recommend, as you said, getting the shit smacked out ever so often is a good thing.
Periodically, yeah, it's really good for you.
It keeps that head from getting too big, you know.
It's good for you. I swear, it's good for you to go get beat up.
And it reminds you that no matter what you know, no matter what you do, and no matter how long you've done it, there's always somebody out there that's going to be a little bigger, a little faster, a little stronger, or is just having a better day than you.
I get a lot from the fact that it makes me understand just how destructive a human being can actually be. And what's ironic is not necessarily intentionally so, meaning that I try to avoid physical the more I train, the less I ever want to have a physical confrontation. Ever.
Yes, sir.
But not just because of the respect I have for, you know, somebody who doesn't have a clue what they're doing, has never trained in their life, can hit you with an overhand right just out of the blue that you don't see coming right in the temple.
Well, I tell this story at a lot of the talks I give, and to a lot of my students who think that, especially those who have the developmental issues that are really looking to fight, kind of a thing. I tell this story often. I used to work as a office manager at an automotive AC and radiator place here in Louisville, and we used to specialize in doing the air conditioners on the big over-the-road semis that have the little apartments in the back. Do you know the trucks I'm talking about?
Yeah, my brother drives them.
Okay. Well, there was one day, you know how the summers get. You know, it's about 99 in the shade.
Yep.
You know, so humid, you know, you could fry an egg on the asphalt. You know, I get elected to go out and tell this guy that we cannot fix the air conditioning on his truck. Well, this gentleman proceeds to lose his ever-loving mind on me, Matt. I mean, he comes unhinged. Immediately commences to screaming, hollering, I'm all kinds of mother trucker, you know, sons of bitches. You know,
right.
He's, you know, everything. He's calling me everything but Paul. You know,
he's having a bad day.
Yeah, he's having a real bad day. And he's, every time I get my truck worked on, somebody's trying to F me out of money. Y'all think I got money? You know, and he's just going on and on. Well, I'm like, sir, please listen. Sir, I am not trying to anger you. Well, we're standing in between two parked cars. And he slams his hand down into one parked car, and I'm like, So I kind of told you my balance is suspect. And, you know, there's probably about 2.5 feet between us here, you know, 3 feet maybe. And so I'm leaning up against the other car, and that way I've, you know, got some sort of stability, so I'm not going to fall on the ground. But the whole time I'm like, sir, please listen. No, sir, you're not letting me help you. Sir, I am not a mechanic. And the whole time he's screaming, ranting, raving, yelling, hollering. Well, he's a little bit shorter than I am. So every time he gets up in my face, he has to kind of look up at me a little bit.
Okay.
Well, Matt, you know, I'm still being very chill. I'm looking him in his eye. I'm not talking to him any differently than I am you. I mean, and I got spit flying from this guy screaming and yelling, and He's mother trucker in and SOB in. And now that right hand that he slammed into the hood of the car, it's pumping. That right hand's just pumping as he's screaming. And with his left hand, for whatever reason, he keeps grabbing at the leg of his pants. Now, what I'm doing the whole time that I'm talking to this guy is I'm going, okay, when he gets up in my face, he has to look up. Every time he looks up at me, he has to raise his head pretty high, which exposes his Adam's apple.
Yeah.
Now, I'm watching that right hand. If he swings on me, it's going to be a haymaker. That left hand ain't going to do nothing. So if he swings, I'm going to catch that haymaker, and I'm going to clock him right in his Adam's apple. And that's going to be all she wrote. But I kept talking to him. Just, sir, please listen. No, sir, I'm not trying to screw you out of money. Sir, please listen. Well, finally, after 2 or 3 minutes of this going on, he chills, like the fog clears out of his eyes or whatever, you know. And I don't know if he realized he was harassing a guy with an obvious physical disability. I don't know if something I said finally got through to him or what. But he was like, man, I got to apologize to you, dude. I'm so sorry. I'm just so used to people, every time I get my truck worked on, you know, they think I got all kinds of money and they want to charge me as much as they can and da-da-da. And, man, I'm sorry. And he stuck his hand out and he shook my hand. And I said, dude, it's not a problem. It's 99 degrees out here. You need your air, man. You sleep here. I get it, man. It's not a problem. You know, no big deal. And we went on about our way. Well, I go back into the office, and Troy, our outside sales rep, he's like, because I'm a black belt at this time. And he's like, man, what the hell, dude? And I'm like, what? He's like, man, I'm sitting in here thinking I'm ready to see Kung Fu Theater up in here. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? He's like, dude, that guy was all up in your face and cussing you and screaming at you and calling you all kinds of mother trucker and all this kind of stuff. I thought you was going to mount the parking lot up with him. And I'm like, Troy, did he ever touch me? Well, no, man, but Troy, did he touch me? Well, no. Then why do I need to touch him?
Right.
Well, because he was cussing you and he was all up in your face and he was all up in your personal space and all cussing you out. I said, so that gives me the right to beat the shit out of him?
Right.
He's like, well, he was disrespecting you, man. I'm like, dude, how fragile is your ego?
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, what are you talking about, man? I said, dude, why do I care? That man was upset that we couldn't give him air conditioning and it's 100 degrees outside, Troy.
Yeah.
He's upset. He's like, well, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, I'll humor you. I said, let's look at both scenarios. First off, let's play the fantasy scenario. He gets up on my face, goes to swing on me. I block it. I crack him in the throat. I knee him in the head. I beat him down. Guess what's going to happen, Troy? He's going to show up in a court of law, in a wheelchair, with a neck brace, and a fleet of attorneys. And I'm not going to be the guy with cerebral palsy. I'm not going to be the disabled guy he was picking on. I'm going to be the trained martial artist that used my skills to beat the crap out of a poor defenseless truck driver who only wanted to get his air conditioning fixed.
Yeah.
That I said, or let's go the more realistic route. I said, did you not realize that guy was built like a fire plug? That even though he was a good 3 inches shorter than me, he was a good 2 inches wider than me.
And probably,
and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because he was fat.
Yeah, and probably grew up like wrestling pigs and shit, and is just like freakishly fun kid strong.
Swole.
Yeah,
as the guys in the gym say, dude was swole. I said, so yeah, let's say I do. You know, I block his punch and I crack him. What's to say he's not like my brother who works in sheet metal?
Yeah, and just
that you crack him in the jaw. He ain't took a lick of fight training a day in his life, but you crack him in the jaw.
Yes,
and he's gonna go.
That's
just the way I like it, dude.
Yeah, and now I've got an outlet for all of this anger and
exactly.
frustration, and it's
I said,
you.
No. I said, no, Troy. It ended exactly the way a real martial artist wants it to end, with everybody happy and nobody getting hurt.
And nobody beat up. Yeah,
and nobody beat up. Exactly.
Yeah,
he's like, oh well, man, I don't know if I could do that. I said, that's why not everybody needs to learn martial arts, bud.
Well, the joke I make about like the guys I go to the gym with and stuff, it's the nicest group of assassins you'll ever meet in your life. Because these are just the most down-to-earth, real, very caring, very generous people that participate in martial art. Especially, I mean, I can't speak to all, but definitely the ones
The
that
ones
I
that stick with
participate.
it for any length of
Yeah,
time end up that way anyway.
and but any one of them would be a really really bad day if you caught them in the wrong attitude. If you caught
Yep.
not them in the wrong attitude, but if you came at them in the wrong attitude, you would have a
Well,
you'd have a really
my
rough
girlfriend
day.
actually. It's funny that you mentioned that because we were out uh, at a local bar here, and one of her previous guys before she met me was abusive, and his family was abusive, and that they pretty much not a one of them were good to her at all, and she had some little bit of PTSD left over from that, and things of that nature. And we're at this bar, and we're all having a good time and shooting pool and things, and all of a sudden she looks up and she realizes that she knows the chick tending bar, she knows two of the people sitting at the bar, and she knows one of the guys at the other table. And she's about ready to have a panic attack and about ready to come tell me that she has to leave because she doesn't want to be around these people, and she's not sure what these two guys that are friends of her ex are going to do, and one of them is her ex's brother, and all this kind of stuff. And she's about to be upset. And she said, but then it occurred to me. She said, as I looked out and saw you guys shooting pool, there stood you, black belt in Kung Fu. There stood Larry, black belt in Kung Fu and former airborne Army Ranger. There stood Damon, also black belt in Kung Fu. And all three of you are holding pull cues.
Melee weapons,
And
yeah.
I realized that I did not have a thing to worry about and went back to enjoying my drink.
Yeah. Right.
And she didn't tell me this till we were home, till the evening was over, and she's like, I got something I want to tell you. And she's like, but it dawned on me. She's like, I would have felt that way if it had just been just me and you. But she said, once I realized that not only was I there with you, but you had Damon and Larry as well, and all three of you were standing there, holding basically bow staffs. I was like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, yeah. If it goes down, it's going down ugly.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like you said though. I would rather it end like it did with the truck driver, where we shake hands and everybody apologizes and life goes on. Because man, hitting people hurts your hand, and getting hit hurts. It don't matter how many times you do it, no matter how much you're used to it. Getting hit hurts.
Well, I can tell you that I get sore rolling on the mat. I certainly never want to find out how sore I get rolling around on concrete or gravel,
No doubt.
or like, ugh.
And it still blows my mind, even after having done it for a while, how fast your gas tank will empty if you're rolling with somebody that outweighs you by even 15 or 20 pounds.
Yeah, but that's any day ending in Y in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, though. I mean, it's like, it's, oh, God, Lord. What's funny is I'm not so sure that I've gotten any better at it. If I've gotten better at anything, it's just not panicking. I think that's about all I've gotten better at. I still just get mauled. It's awful.
Right? But I'd still, because people say, well, then you talk about how you've gotten knocked out in class and gotten your nose broken in class and all these split lips you get and black eyes and all this. And I'm like, yeah, but I'd rather get all that from my buddy who's going to help me up than for the first time I get hit to be by, Bubba the idiot out here on the street.
Well, that's I've talked about this in the past. It does form sort of a weird sort of brotherly family type bond with somebody that A, lets you choke the shit out of them, and B, and then you got to let them choke the shit out of you. Like, there's this weird bond, and I'm sure in the striking martial arts, it's all the same.
I love you, man.
Yeah, right. Oh, sorry. It's a little too much. All right, my bad.
If you get up, I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah. I seen it was a meme one time on Facebook, and it was just a guy who got a shiner. And he goes, and he doesn't say anything, and he goes all the way home, and he unfriends the guy on Facebook. Like, he's like,
but
I don't like you anymore.
I hope that there are some parents out there that are listening to us talk right now, because there's something I heard about kids today that really was a huge eye-opener for me. Do you know what the number one reason when asked, and this is from middle school to high school, the number one response when they ask kids why they took a gun to school? Why did you carry a gun? Do you know what they said, Matt?
I imagine it has something to do with bullying, but I could be wrong.
I was afraid to get hit.
Oh, okay. So yeah, physical confrontation. They're terrified of it.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
as practitioners of martial arts, you and I both know
Oh, it's part of.
that getting punched and kicked isn't going to kill you.
No.
Getting shot will kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need
Good point. Yeah.
these kids need to learn. Think about it, Matt. When you and I were kids, if you pulled a knife on somebody, if you couldn't fight with your fists, you were a puss. You were a
Yeah.
wimp.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You got rode out. You got that was not cool.
Right.
And you seriously,
Yeah.
you
It
didn't
didn't
even think about
escalate.
bringing a gun.
It didn't escalate, did it? That's right. You just sort of had it out. You rubbed some dirt on it afterwards, and then you went on. It was not.
There were times when I got into fist fights with guys at the bus stop that the next day we were hanging out and
friends.
shooting pool at the game room.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
I didn't get mad because the guy pushed me down and go get a gun and come back and shoot him.
Or even if you do get beat up, you hold your own for as long as you can, and you gain respect. It's a
exactly.
Weird, yeah, it's a weird. I don't know. I guess today they would call that toxic masculinity and stuff like that, though. But we sort of got it out of our system.
Toxic masculinity, and I had a big discussion about this the other day, and I used the samurai as an example. Toxic masculinity is teaching your kid that it's okay to grab the waitress's ass and call her honey. That's toxic masculinity. Teaching your kid to be tough and take up for people that are weaker than him and not put up with a bully and stuff. That's a completely different thing.
That's chivalric or chivalry.
Yeah, chivalry doesn't have a damn thing to do with toxic masculinity. And I raised 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, and both of my boys are as chivalrous as you please. And I dare somebody to say that they've got toxic masculinity.
I tell you, one of the things that I'm most concerned about, and this worries me about mixed martial arts, and martial arts period, striking arts especially, is how susceptible human beings are to traumatic brain injury.
Yes, sir.
And I see that, and it's one of the things that I really like about jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, is the lack of a lot of people don't. It's not that there is no striking. It's just that that's not the focus. The focus is.
It's not the focal point.
Yeah. So.
Oh no! I tell people that all the time when they say, "Well, jiu-jitsu is just rolling around there." No, they're striking there. They just don't do it.
Yeah. The point is control. Because once you have control someone, you can hit him any way you feel like, or any way that's accessible. The point is to get it to that point of control first. But the lack of striking and the lack of there's a lot less chance for things like head injuries and things like that in that versus like the kids that I see, there are kids that are 12, 13 years old that are jumping straight into mixed martial arts and jumping in the ring with headgear and kicking each other.
That's not okay. I feel the same way with tackle football. When you have kids with developing brains and your brain is still growing at an astronomical rate daily. Yeah. Daily, your brain is still developing. You don't need to be slamming it and thumping it and bumping it for fun. You
and I grew up in that era with, I'm sure, it was, the harder you hit someone, you should get your bell rung.
It's good for you. It builds character.
Yeah, that's right. This ain't hurting you in any way, and that's the way we thought things worked. And now we got better science and better medicine, and we're sort of looking at this shit, and it's something that's really...
When you look at Muhammad Ali and when you look at some of the older NFL football players, and I'm talking about your Lyle Alzaados and your John Matuzaks, and those guys had serious brain injuries, man. I mean, and I'm not talking about just the steroid use. I mean, that's a whole nother show.
Right.
But they had obvious brain trauma. I mean, it was obvious to anybody to listen to them speak.
It's funny, my brother just had a spill on the ice. He's a truck driver and was in a yard somewhere and jumped out of his truck and I don't know the exact details, but his feet kept going and then his head bounced off the ice kind of thing, and to the point where it gave him a bleed in his brain, and he's had multiple CAT scans and stuff now, but it's altered his personality. Just that, I mean, it was one event. It's not, it's not made him like violent or anything like that. And
but he's different.
But he is different. He is a different dude now, and it's just that one event that caused it to happen. And I think about that with kids. And they're like, okay, we're gonna play heads up football now. We're not. It's like, no, man, you guys, that's still it doesn't work. These kids are. I think I've seen 80% of kids that play pony league football
Has
and
some sort of
are showing the results or the effects of concussive trauma and stuff. Like,
HBO did a really good documentary about this called on State of Play, that show that they do. It really touched on this, and that's what I've had a lot of arguments with some of the more old school guys of, oh, they need it, it ain't hurting them. Yes, it is, man. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and that's what I worry about with how fast, and we're cramming kids into mixed martial arts, and I think the judo, the grappling, jiu-jitsu, whatever.
That's what the kids need to be doing. Until you're 19, 20, 21 years old, you don't need to be getting your bell rung doing nothing.
Yeah, you can learn to strike, but there's other mechanisms that allow that, pads and things like that. But just throw people into a ring with the shin guards on and go out there and be like, okay, now go keep
full force. No,
yeah, that's not. I think we're going to have to, and I'm probably going to get roasted for that, man, but I'm telling you, I think that we're really going to have to rethink all of this stuff and what we're putting kids through. Because it's not good, Paul, it's not good for adults, okay? We know it's not good for adults.
Having worked in the field as long as I have and seen the results of acquired brain injury, just from simple things like car wrecks, motorcycle wrecks, and things like that, it only takes one bad shot to cause profound, permanent damage.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And I will say that before I helped raise my 4 stepkids. Sorry, guys, I know I'm really dad. I said the dreaded step word. I'm not allowed to use that word.
Bonus dad is what.
Bonus dad. But before I became a parent, I might have been one of those people of, it might be exaggerating a little bit, but no, when you really see, when you're watching a kid and you realize that their brain is growing and that they're learning something new every minute of every day, you don't want to do anything, especially something for fun like football or MMA, that could put them in any sort of risk for losing that ability.
Yeah, it's okay brain trauma as long as it's fun brain trauma, right? That's kind of the deal that you're making there. And it's like, no, wait a minute, hang on, that's not good.
Well, right. Let me introduce you to the gentleman who acquired his brain injury when he was 16, is now our age, and wishes he had died.
Really? It's bad, huh?
So, I would, that to those parents or to those people who aren't parents that are thinking, that, oh, you're making such a big deal out of nothing. No, it's not. It's not nothing.
Yeah.
Concussive brain injuries are a thing, and we do need to do more to protect, especially developing brains. Now, like I said, once you're 19, 20, 21, and your brain's developed all it's going to, and you're in full possession of your own faculties, and you make your own choices, you want to throw on pads and a helmet, you want to jump in the ring, you want to do whatever.
It's a different thing. Yes. Yeah.
Whole different animal.
Yeah. I'm not a big regulation kind of guy, really. I'm not, but I think that there needs to be, if there's not going to be regulation, then there at least needs to be respect paid to that end. Where we have the coaches and the people out there, because we've seen this in other little. I
often
sports.
say, Matt, if we're not going to have common sense, then we need some rules.
That's going to be the way it's going to be, right? Yeah, and you got to really think this whole letting kids slam into each other and things like that. But I agree, once you were 20 years old, 19, 18, I really feel like your brain isn't done until you're like 21. That whole narcissism thing really starts to go away.
Right.
And when you're about 21. But beyond that, if you're not free to make bad choices, you're not free at all. You have to be, but I think you should at least have the best chance to make the most correct choice.
Yeah, you shouldn't already have enough traumatic impacts to your head to impair your decision making by the time you get there.
Right? You got 18-year-old kids signing contracts and pro sports and 20-year-old kids, and it's like you've been brain damaged since you were 14.
Yep.
And we're,
But see, I think you had to be 21 to play a professional sport. Period. So.
Well, that'd be interesting. Then just let them have the steroids. 21, let them have the steroids. Let's see what happens.
21, you're in my mind, at 21, that's when you're pretty much a full-blown,
right.
Your body's done growing, your brain's done growing, you're an adult. I think calling people an adult at 18 is kind of not accurate.
It's definitely not. I was in the military with a lot of 18 year. I was a child at 18 years old. I was not an adult.
I could barely find my ass without a map and a flashlight when
Right.
I was 18, man. Let's be real.
I feel you. Well, very cool, man. So we did over an hour here. This was a great conversation. Is there anything that you want to make sure we get out there for you or promote or anything like that before we kind of start wrapping up?
No, actually, other than just Crew's Facebook, check out my Shaolin Arts page. I don't post on there as often as I should, but all my contact information is on there. So if there's anybody listening that has somebody that you think might benefit from working with me in any way, please reach out and contact me. My schedule is flexible, and money is not my primary motivator, so we can discuss all that later. I'm here to help people first and foremost. That's why I'm here. So
awesome stuff. So Paul Graber, pronounced it correctly that time, right?
Yes, you did, Matt. Thank you, sir.
Paul, you're an inspiration, bud. This is one of them things where it's like, what's my excuse kind of thing. And I love talking to guys like you, Mike Barnett. Big shout out to him again too. The guys that are out there still getting it done. And, finding a way. Look, folks, that you can make this work for you. It's an amazing thing. It'll change your life. Get involved in a martial art. Get involved in your physical and your spiritual balance and well-being. It's worth it, and it pays great dividends. But other than that, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you check us out. Hit us up on noshitcast.com. That's where you'll find the links to all the places where you can consume podcast media, all the places that we publish. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. We're on YouTube and over on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and you can check us out on Twitter as well. And we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye, Sickles. That's how we do it, man.